Ladies and gentlemen, guys and gals, non-binary pals, welcome back to the channel. So for today's video, we don't really have anything too in-depth, but as some of you guys probably remember, at the end of the Thomas Go-Go Freight video, Thomas had side rods, and currently he is the only Go-Go engine I have that sports that modification. And yeah, truth be told, it's a little random to do diesel. You could do Percy. I maybe should do Percy, but I figured diesel would be the most unique. I also had some black wheels just on hand, so yeah. Now, should this be a modification you want to try, there's a couple things you should keep in mind. One, these engines are not made to sport side rods, and because of that, even with the modifications that you'll see we do, they kind of jump a little bit when they run. It's inevitable. It's kind of product of the body shells being so lowrider-ish, but if that's something you're okay with, it's really not that big of a deal. It doesn't hinder running. And secondly, this modification does require tools, so on the chance you're a younger person, you may want to ask for your parents' help or something like that. Though the process for doing this would be closely the same thing. Say if you were adding side rods to a Trackmaster normal diesel. It's not too far off from the usual. But first things first, you're going to want to start with taking this thing apart. Now, you don't need to take absolutely everything apart. As you can see there is the face component, and you can leave that completely intact. Just go ahead and take the body shell off from the chassis, take the battery out if there is one present, and now you're going to take the motor off of the, I guess, wheel set. Let's see, there we go. And once that's done, you'll pretty quickly start to see how simple these builds are. There's really nothing to them. There you go. They are the exact same as normal Trackmaster chassis. And this wheel set here at the rear can just come straight out. The problem will sit more in this front one. As you can see there, they're kind of bolted into the chassis or held in by the chassis itself. And technically there's a couple ways you could get past this, but I think for convenience sake, we'll probably just end up using the Dremel. Oh yeah, there's also these parts. You can go ahead and take the coupler off too, just for safety. You don't want to mess that up. Now, right off the bat, what you might notice is this wheel set does not fit into the motor. It's not a clean fit, and this really wouldn't work if we just tried to swap the wheels alone. What we're gonna have to do is swap this actual axle, and that's thankfully not too hard, but it does require a little bit of elbow grease. What I find to be the easiest is just take them and start twisting them like so, kind of pulling at them until they start to come off. There we go. And once we have the first one off, for the second one, just take a pair of pliers and do the same thing. Just try to, well, hold it better than I did. There we go. And now we have the free axle. And now you get to repeat the process a second time over, but with this wheel set to swap the wheels and put these black ones onto this one. And boom, just like that, you've got your black wheels, and now you just fit these to the original axle. There's not really any way you have to put them on in particular, like one wheel doesn't have to go on one side or anything like that. Just get them fit in equally on either side, and boom, look at that. We've now got a swapped axle completely. Now comes the not so fun part. Now you get to take the Dremel, or you could use pliers. I might try to do that first, and try to take off that upper piece of plastic that's holding in these front wheels. And thankfully you don't have to be too careful, but what I try to do is only get rid of the plastic you need to. If you do mess up, the wheels will hide it pretty well, but you only need to get rid of that plastic bit right there that's actually holding the wheels. So yeah, let's try that. And you may be thinking to yourself, well, when you do that, what happens? Do the wheels just fall out of the chassis? Nope, they're held in by this thing. That's what that little notch there is for. So really, you don't even need those walls there that support it. It's just kind of a safety feature that we're now going to remove. Really, there's two ways of doing this. One is in a way where it's reversible, so you'll just kind of try to get rid of these walls and pull the wheels out. The second way is just completely destroy the wheels. And you know what? I might end up doing that since I don't think I'll make this modification reversible or reverse it anytime soon, but on the chance that is something you're interested in, definitely keep that in mind. But with all of that being said, now we get to work with the Dremel. All right, with that, I think we're ready. And again, you want to do your best to keep these cuts and whatever modification you do here clean, because while the wheels do hide quite a bit if there's a lot of mangled plastic or if you mess up the actual parts where the wheels fall into, that could make some issues when running. So yeah, just be careful and take your time. It's one of those things where there's a lot of factors at play. It's not a race, just you're trying to make a cool and better looking model. So with all of that being said, let's start dremeling. Really quick, clean off that plastic, and now the only thing we have to do is reassemble the main chassis. But there is something I like to do, and that's just, you don't have to, really. Again, it won't help too much, but maybe it's just a mental thing for me. I take a nail file, and I kind of try to smooth out the inside of the bodies a bit more. Just try to make a little bit less area for these rods to make contact with, because almost inevitably they will. So yeah, I don't recommend using the Dremel for that because it is just too easy to end up going through the wall, and then you need a new body shell. But with all of that being said, let's start that process. And once you feel satisfied with that process and have the inside of the body shell cleaned off, then it's time for the really fun part, which is reassembly and putting everything right back together and seeing how you did. Oh yeah, really quick, I'll also do the front coupling modification to diesel, but that's not something I'll go too in-depth on in this video, since there's a whole other video I've done basically on just that. So yeah, that's linked in the description if you're interested. But another quick time lapse. Okay, my bad. Now it's time for reassembly, so let's jump into that. Oh, it's looking like I might have to do a bit more modification. Does this fit in there? No, it does not. So now it's looking like I'll have to go back and do just a bit to this motor to make that fit in a bit more flush. And let me show you the process for that. Now, this is something you really want to take your time with and be super careful. Again, you're working with the motor, so it's a bit of a delicate process. You're just gonna take a bit like this and try to round that out. We're kind of lucky since, as you can see there's no immediate gears or anything there. So let's just do our best to be careful and hope it doesn't mess anything up. Again, if you're careful, it absolutely won't. So just, okay, don't do that. Let's see here, get this rear bogie fit in, and moment of truth. There we go. Yeah, look at that. That is just so much more flush. And now we get to put the entire rest of this thing back together. So another super quick time lapse. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and with all of that being said, it's time for the moment of truth. Let's take this battery, fit it to the chassis itself, and look at that. Like nobody's business. Working like a dream. And now the only thing left to do is fit that front coupler, if I can figure out where I put it, here it is, and put the body shell onto diesel. And this is what you should look like at the end of that modification. You know, I do think this does look a little bit better than those gray wheels. It's just more fitting for diesel, and I can't lie, it's weird to see them with side rods, but it's kind of like a blurst thing. It's a little bit blessed, a little bit cursed. I don't know, I kind of like it. All right, with all of that being said, and now that you know all the secrets, I think it's time we see this dude in a little bit of action. And look at that, he's actually rolling pretty decently. As you can see there's a little bit of that catch. Inevitably, he'll probably bounce just a little bit like Thomas, but it's the price you're paying for putting a modification on an engine that is definitely not supposed to have that modification. All right, let's go to the layout.
Either subscribe, donate, or get the fuck out.